Hi there, welcome along to another edition of the Sports Express Show with myself, I am the Newswa. I'm riding solo today. Sanele is not here, but if you're joining us for the first time, make sure you do the right thing. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get all our videos when we upload them on a weekly basis. Also, like the video and drop your comments below. In this video, I'm going to be looking at some football action from this past weekend, specifically looking at those two major international finals that we had in South America and in Europe. We saw the Copa America final between Argentina and Brazil, as well as the Euro 2020 final between Italy and England. So Argentina have finally done it for the first time since I think 1993. They've finally won an international trophy which has eluded them for such a long time, and specifically in the last decade, because I think they've lost about 4 finals, including the 2014 World Cup, but they've finally done it, winning that one by 1-0 against Brazil in Brazil at the Maracanã Stadium. So a big congratulations to Argentina, and also specifically a big congratulations to Lionel Messi, who has also finally gotten his piece of silverware with Argentina. He has won everything that was on offer at Barcelona at club level. He's won all of it, Champions League, La Liga, you name it, he's won it. It was the only thing that was eluding him in his career, and now he's finally gotten over the line. So a big congratulations there to Messi and Argentina. Talking about the game itself, wasn't really the best final to watch. I would say it was a very cagey final, not the worst final as well, because as I mentioned, it was a cagey final. It was a very physical game, right, which wasn't surprising given the bad blood between the two countries. There's a big rivalry there between Argentina and Brazil. Ultimately, when they play, it is the biggest international game that is on offer in world football. But Argentina turned up on the day. They got one big opportunity and they took it, with Angel Di Maria scoring that goal. And he is part of the team that has been losing all these finals in the past decade. So it's nice to see that he was able to get on the scoreline and get Argentina over the line. But they were very compact in midfield. The likes of Rodrigo de Paul, who was my man of the match in the day, a very good performance by him. He put in a good shift, got a lot of drive forwards for Argentina. From a Brazil point of view, quite a disappointing performance, I must say. They did fight towards the end of the match, but it was too late at that time. They were playing a bit too individualistic for my own liking, which is a characteristic of Brazilian players anyway, but they didn't really play as a team. The likes of Neymar, not so great on the day. He did fight for the side, I must say, towards the end, as I've mentioned, but ultimately on the day, it wasn't enough for Brazil, and they didn't really deserve to win that final, and Argentina have done it. So, what does this mean now when it comes to the conversation of who is the greatest player of all time? Because people have always been talking about Messi and the fact that he hasn't won anything with Argentina. Ronaldo won the Euro 2016 with Portugal, right? And now Messi has won something with Argentina, which is basically the equivalent of what Ronaldo won with Portugal, and none of them have won the World Cup so far. Probably going to have their last chance next year in 2022. So where does this leave the conversation? People have been putting it over Messi, as I've mentioned, and I think now, there's very little that, and I'm speaking as a Ronaldo fan here, there's very little that you can argue against when it comes to Lionel Messi and him being declared the greatest player of all time, because he's won 6 Ballon d'Ors, probably going to win his 7th one now, given the fact that he's won 2 trophies with Barcelona, 1 trophy with Barcelona, and now the Copa America. He's arguably been the best player in 2021, as well as in not only winning the Copa America, but the manner in which he's done it as well. He was the player of the tournament, top goal scorer in the tournament, top assister, basically led Argentina to the final, not only through his leadership on the pitch, but also through his performances. He was the main man, as he has been for the longest time, and he got over the line. So it's very little that you can use to argue against Messi fans. This does not mean that we're going to stop arguing with Messi fans, because that's never going to happen. But ultimately, Messi has won international trophy, and it's going to be very hard to discredit the man. They might say that he stayed at Barcelona, but I don't think that argument really counts right now. So it could go either way. If you think Messi is the greatest player of all time, can't really argue with that right now, because he has won something and led his nation to a trophy as a captain, as the front man, with his performances, with his leadership. So there's very little that you can use to argue against Lionel Messi. So once again, a big congratulations to him and a big congratulations to Argentina. And now to my favorite results from this past weekend was in the Euro 2020 final. Italy against England, 1-1 in 90 minutes, extra time and penalties. The Italians ultimately going out as winners there by 3-2. So what a final that was. Started like a house on fire. England getting the early goal there by Luke Shaw as early as, I think it was in the first 5 minutes of the game. You know, a blistering start for England. You know, they started really well, pressed Italy, pushed them on the back foot. The Italians weren't defending particularly well at the start of the match, but in the second half, it was a different Italian performance, getting the goal there by Leonardo Bonucci, putting the game on 1-1, and then extra time and penalties, ultimately Italy winning it. And I can safely say that it's coming to Rome and it's not going home. Whew. Wow, peace of mind, absolute peace of mind. Because look, I'm not even gonna lie, I don't like England. You know, I like English things. For example, Liverpool Football Club. You know, it's from England. I like English breakfast, but I just don't like the English themselves because of the amount of noise that they make when they win stuff. You know, they obviously played very well in this tournament. You know, getting into the final. Great performances, big wins at times. That 4-0 win against Ukraine, they beat Germany on their way to the final. So they had every right to make noise. But if they won this tournament, I think everyone knows that we would have never heard the end of it from the English media, from the English fans, and ultimately most of us are happy about the results, apart from the English and other people who support England. But a big congratulations to Italy. I think a lot of people didn't really put them as favorites, myself included. At the start of the tournament, they played the very first game of the tournament, the opening match, and they played the final as well. So Roberto Mancini has done a fantastic job with this team. Remember, Italy weren't even in the 2018 World Cup in Russia. If you remember clearly, they didn't qualify for that World Cup. That's how bad things were in Italy. Like you could never have imagined Italy not turning up, at least turning up or qualifying for a major tournament. It didn't happen in 2018. They brought in Roberto Mancini. He basically revolutionized the entire side, mixing youth with experience. If you saw there, the likes of the youngsters, the likes of Barella, Chiesa, were there within the Italian side, while still keeping the stalwarts and the older guys, your Bonucci's, your Chiellini's, was still there within the side. So it's a very nice mix of experience and youth, and it literally worked out so well for Italy. They were solid defensively. They had a great run of wins leading up to the tournament, and in the tournament itself, they haven't lost a single game in the tournament. You know, so they were the best team in Euro 2020, alongside England, of course, who got to the final. But ultimately, I think the best team won, given how they set up, given how they've been playing. You know, the Italians, they defend like no one else in world football. They like to impose themselves, their personality into the game. You know, they allowed teams like Belgium to have the ball when they played against them, and they know that they have the attacking prowess to actually go forward and get the important goals at specific times. So we've had better teams on paper in this tournament, better than Italy. If you look at the likes of France, if you look at the likes of Portugal, and even Belgium in terms of pound for pound, man for man, they probably had better teams than the Italian side. But as we all know, in any given major tournament, it's usually won by the team that was the best playing as a unit, right? Not individual stars like we saw the likes of Portugal and France. It's always won by the team that has a better unity, playing as a team in a better way compared to the others. So having your stars is all nice and well. If they're not going to play together, then it's another story itself. But ultimately, Italy have been crowned European champions. I'm very happy about that. And talking about the penalties themselves, I think that was one point of the game that got a lot of people talking, even more than what happened in extra time. And in penalties, we did see the three English players, Rashford, Sancho and Bukayo Saka, missing their spot kicks, which ultimately cost England the trophy. So I think Rashford and Sancho were brought into the match pretty much in the last minutes of extra time, which was quite a weird decision by Gareth Southgate, given the fact that he didn't even give the players a chance to get warmed up for the spot kicks. Because I always find that if you're going to take a penalty, you need to be prepared for it mentally more than anything. You need to be in the game, you need to have a feel of the game, and you need to prepare yourself for taking that spot kick. And to come off the bench, literally to do one job, to take one kick, you know, I think it's quite a baffling decision for the manager to make. and he has since accounted for that decision because he was ultimately the one that decided who took the penalties, and the guys missed their penalties, which didn't work. The plan didn't really work out for him at the end of the day. And talking about Bukayo Saka, I think his one is probably a little bit more weird than the Rashford Sancho decision, because Saka literally is a 19-year-old kid, and to have him to take the final penalty in a major final for England, not just any final, England haven't played a final in over 50 years, and to have a young player, 19 years of age, to take the crucial spot kick was also quite a baffling decision on my side. Saka is obviously a fantastic player, wonderful player. He's played really well in the past season for Arsenal. He's also played well in the matches that he's played in the Euros, coming off the bench. Whenever he started as well, he also played well, benching the likes of Grealish and Phil Foden. Had a really good tournament, and in the final, ultimately, the pressure got to him as a young kid. Playing in a final at Wembley with the English fans in the stadium is not an easy thing to do, and ultimately he missed a penalty. And I always find it very hard for people, or hard to comprehend when people actually bash players for missing penalties. I feel like penalties are literally one of the hardest things to do in football. We've seen the greatest of greats miss penalties in crucial moments. Even the likes of Ronaldo and Messi have missed crucial penalties throughout their career, or at some point in their career. So it's not something that you can really bash someone, for failing to do. So failing to convert a penalty is not really something that you would blame a player for. I always feel that like that. And to have people not only bash the players for missing the penalties, but also to racially abuse them is something that's obviously very disgusting from the English fans in the stadium, as well as on social media. We saw what happened after the game on Sunday, and it's something that we really don't know what to say anything about, because we've been talking about it for the longest time. It's been happening in the Premier League throughout the season. We've seen multiple cases of players getting racially abused after having bad performances or not playing very well. So it's a conversation that's been ongoing. The authorities are not doing anything much about it, apart from having campaigns and taking the knee. So I don't really have much to say about that. It's really unfortunate that the likes of Rashford, Sancho and Saka were racially abused after the game. So hopefully it's something that's going to stop in the future. I don't know how it's going to stop or when it's going to stop, but we obviously do not want to see it happening in the game. But ultimately, Forza Italia, Italy are champions, and they have silenced the English, and world peace will be prevailing at this point. I mean, England, no disrespect to them, they've had a really good tournament. They've played well from the start, putting in good performances. They beat Germany, they beat the Ukraine by 4-0, so they've had quite a good run into the final. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Italy were the better side from the start. They played the very first game of the tournament, winning that one. They've been solid defensively. They've had a rock solid midfield, and also going forward, they have very good players. And ultimately, the well-oiled team, or the best team in the tournament, won the tournament at the end of the day. We did see the likes of France, who had better individual players, Portugal as well, the likes of Belgium, but they didn't really play as a team. And Italy was the one team that was gelled in together very well, and they played to their strengths, and they won the tournaments. Also, for the first time in years, they won the European Championship. So Forza Italia, congratulations to the Italians, and it's not coming home. I'm not sure when it's coming home. I hope it never does. But anyway, we're going to see how England are going to be reacting to this, because the World Cup is going to be happening next year, and they have a good squad of players within their ranks. This team is a special group of players, and hopefully for the English, they can also replicate their performances in the World Cup and try and basically get into the final and win the World Cup, which is going to be a lot harder than winning the European Championships, which they failed to do. So we're going to see how the English are going to be playing, and also the Italians after winning the Euros. It's going to be a massive boost for them going into the World Cup next year. They would want to win the World Cup and take that momentum into the biggest tournaments in world football, which is the FIFA World Cup. And that's where I'm going to be leaving it for this video. I'm going to be back again a little bit later on in this week. Once again, a big congratulations to Italy and Argentina for winning their trophies and being champions of their continents respectively. And also don't forget to comment, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you again next time.